listening to White and Sawyer on TalkSport. Hugh Woozencroft and the former Crystal Palace and Birmingham City forward Clinton Morrison are with you. Our next story is a serious one. A referee who was attacked in an amateur game in London has told the newspapers he now fears he could be murdered on the pitch. You may see a video of this on social media at the moment, and others I'm sure you've seen in the past as well. If you're a referee or you were a referee and you've got any experience of this and you want to get in touch, or if you play the game at a grassroots level, can you answer this? Why are we showing such disregard for our officials? 08717 223344. You can text us as well, 81089, or tweet at TalkSport. Let's speak next to the chairman of the Referees Association, Paul Field. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning. You well?
I am very well, but of course I've seen the video on social media and online. I've read the story today of the referee who fears he could be murdered out on the pitch. Firstly, on seeing that video, what was your reaction?
It's just disgraceful. You know, football has waited months to get started again, months and months, and here we are. Week two aside, we've had referees spat out as well, and you just think, what have we got to do to change the culture? What have we got to do?
It's a very interesting question. Do you think this is a common occurrence, the violence, that level? What you can tell me, does this happen every weekend?
Every weekend, referees in this country will get some abuse. Whatever. I've seen Clinton give enough out over the years because we get decisions wrong, and we take it on the chin. But the abuse has got from that little bit of banter, come on, ref, you sure about this, to where it's become almost intimidating at times. And football is great. We have millions of events held around this country every year, but we are seeing a trend upwards of unsavoury behaviour. And refereeing is great. You know, referees love football, and then it becomes an ambition, and then you get sucked into it, and all of a sudden, what a great opportunity for young people. But we don't make it easy. We don't make it easy for people.
No, Paul, you are right. I did used to give a lot of abuse out, but I had also had a good relationship with the referees. I respected them. As long as when I spoke to them and they spoke back to me and told me the decision, and then all of a sudden said they got it wrong, because we get it wrong as footballers. We get things wrong on the pitch. But we want to talk about it, but I would never physically go and abuse a referee. I think that's out of order. It is a hard job that you do. It is a hard job that you do. I just think when we're playing it now, all we want to know is that they explain why that decision wasn't given and stuff like that. Yeah. But you can't physically go and abuse referees now. It's a hard job that they're doing.
And Clinton, you're absolutely right. It comes with experience. Yeah. That conversation with players comes with experience. But too many times, referees, we just slightly cross the line. It gets referees into trouble, etc. And when we open out, we will get something back. And you think, God, that's a yellow card now, and we've self-inflicted that, yellow card. So it's very difficult to get that balance of communication between match official and player. But we don't go on the field of play to get assaulted.
I've got a real opinion on why this happens, and I think the example given by professional football might lead us to a reason why, because I've always seen an atmosphere in professional football grounds that changes. You walk through the turnstile and people do change, and you see them in the papers afterwards when they've been accused of abusing or having a fight in the stands or whatever, and they say, I don't know what came over me. And I think when you're sitting at home and you're watching and how Premier League players speak to officials, how managers on the touchline, look, we love people like Jurgen Klopp, but if you see a decision go against Liverpool, and I don't want to, in fact, call him out, every manager in the league's pretty much the same, right? The level of anger that you see on the faces, the screaming, and you think that's football, and I think that gives the impression that when you go out, that's how you speak to officials, right? I played rugby for a part of my childhood as well, and that's not how you speak to officials. Funnily enough, the grown men that play that sport don't have an issue with abusing officials in their game, because that's just not how things go. And I don't think we've ever really drawn the line with professional football and treatment of officials. And look, it's professional sport, and of course it's going to get heated. And I'm not saying that it goes to the level of violence, but it gives the impression in your mind that officials are fair game to be screamed at. What do you think of that?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Last week we had a Zoom meeting with Owen Farrell, and he talked about the big decisions that go against. He said, you can't influence it. We have to look at the next phase of play. And you know what? He's absolutely right. It's the next phase of play. You know, we don't go on the field of play deliberately looking to make mistakes. We make honest decisions at honest times to the best of our ability about what is put in front of us at that time. But it's just, you're absolutely right. It is cultural. It is, it is when coaches go on the coaching course, do they have any session whatsoever about respect towards the match official? They absolutely do not. You know, it has to be a culture right through the game, right through the county FAs who look after grassroots football. It isn't. You know, it is. In some county FAs, frankly, referees are that annoying group of people that we need. But in other county FAs, they really support referees.
Well, Paul, Andy in Ipswich has been in touch. He says, I used to ref. I was threatened and told I would be beaten up after a game. I was told that a player would come round to my house and beat me up. The county FAs are too weak and they don't impose a big enough ban or fine, says Andy. What do you think of that?
He's absolutely right, because some county FAs, they are run by clubs and by local leagues. That's how county FAs operate. In other counties, you have a higher influx of referees. So therefore, you know, clubs say it goes against clubs. But, you know, when you have county FAs that are totally skewed towards one part of the game or not, then you will always get a biased outcome. County FAs have a lot to answer for. They really do have to raise their game, and the lack of money in refereeing is almost a national scandal. You know, there is no money in refereeing to help develop, de-escalate. Let's talk about de-escalation of this, incidents, etc., etc. We expect people to go out there and enforce aspects of racism, homophobia, 17 laws of the game. Now we've got COVID-19 on top about that concussion management, etc. You're asking the referee, a young person, you know, an inexperienced person, maybe with life skills, to do all of that. And the nub of it all is training and education. I have real issues around that one, and also the penal and legal system in this country doesn't take it seriously because they say it's a football matter.
What do you think the solution is, and have you been seeing young referees leave the game?
Oh yeah, young people are the future of this game, and we have to give them a safe working environment to develop and nurture. We are seeing some horror stories in gymnastics. We don't have that type of, intrinsic abuse towards those elite groups. But what we have every Sunday morning, a young person is liable to be verbally abused, and we do have parents that go that bit further and push children over. I mean, that should be an automatic safeguarding issue. Safeguarding is life-changing in their profession, or can be. So, to me, any assault on a young person by an adult is not only a disciplinary matter, it's a safeguarding issue. We should have a court system in this country that actually takes assaults on match officials. And it's not just football, because I've been on other programmes on other channels where we've talked about rugby league, cricket, rugby union, cycling, and all match officials are starting to find that it is slightly becoming more intimidating in this aspect of sport.
Paul, when we talk about young referees, how young are we talking?
So you can qualify as a referee at 14 years of age, and what a fantastic hobby! What a fantastic future they have if they are given a safe environment. And it goes back to the coaches. A lot of coaches are fabulous. A lot of teams are fabulous, but we do have some troubled souls who, frankly, shouldn't be in football. But I suspect that whole team would not have a game of football if it wasn't for that person doing that hobby, because football is run by volunteers. It's a very complicated issue. We want people to go and play football, but if you've got a coach who is yelling abuse at young people, then someone needs to go and tap him on the shoulder, calm down, and county FAs need to start educating people about respect to each other. And if we can't respect each other, then it's a downward spiral.
Clinton, what are your feelings listening to what Paul's had to say?
Yeah, I think Paul made some great points. I actually coach at grassroots, but my children I coach are obviously under 14, so I've always told them you've got to respect the referee, because nowadays you can be put in the sin bin and you're off for about 8 minutes and stuff like that. So I think that's quite a good thing.
And then they watched Premier League years and they said, I saw you on Sky the other day.
Yeah,
Clinton,
you didn't practice what you preach, but I try to do that because I feel you need to show these referees, they do a hard job. And if you're a young person and you want to become a referee and you're hearing about people getting threatened after and saying they're going to come to your house and they're going to do this to you, it puts you off from being a referee. That shouldn't happen. Listen, I'll be the first one to say I was the first one to be in a referee's face and argue a decision. But at the end of the day, at the end of the game, I'd shake his hand, I'd say good luck, and we'd have a good relationship going on to the next game. And I know I could always have banter with the referee, but you would never take it to the stage where a referee feels physically threatened. That's out of order, because they're doing a great job, referees. It is a difficult job. It's one of the hardest jobs to do. You got to keep up with play, and any decision that you think, you've got to stick by your decision as a referee. And if any youngster wants to be a referee, you've got to have a strong mentality to do that.
Yeah, and this, and where we started, we talked about the sentencing. So we had made a submission to the Sentencing Council to look at the how people are penalised through the court system. Until the court system start taking assaults seriously, we will never eradicate this. This is a preventative action that we're taking to increase sentencing in this country. And this really did start in 2017, really, where a referee was assaulted and the player got 4 months suspended, £100 compensation and a little bit of community work. But the referee had been knocked out, had 2 weeks off work, he'd lost pay, he was self-employed. His wife and family then struggled. We through our benevolence fund, supported that referee. This is all from the volunteer network, by the way. Mm-hmm. And you cannot appeal a magistrate's ruling because the system doesn't allow us to do that. So let's give the magistrate system and the court system higher penal offences, and then they can make the judgment based on the evidence. But at the moment, if you assault a park warden or a police dog, you are likely to get a higher sentence than if you assault a referee or a match official, any match official going about their lawful business.
Paul Field, thank you so much for joining us on White and Sawyer today here on TalkSport. That's the chairman of the Referees Association. If you want to share your story, you can give us a call, 08717 223344. A few messages coming in as well. This says, I was assaulted, punched in the face by a player a few years ago. His punishment was an £80 fine and a 5-year ban. I didn't receive any report from the county FA, which was disappointing. And a few weeks later, I saw the same player playing in a football league game. The players know they can get away with it. They just carry on, says Terry. This one, referee abuse at grassroots level isn't a new problem. I refereed at junior up to the under 18s. The abuse from parents was often worse than those on the pitch. Only when referees can stop the game and hold people to account will change be possible. And this one's anonymous. It says, I used to be a referee. I was verbally abused. I was spat at and had hot drinks thrown at me. And I was 15 years old at the time. Text 81089. You can tweet at TalkSport. I'd love to hear what you think about refereeing at grassroots level. Is the support